Hello there, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Today I am going to finally start a series that I've been thinking about doing for a long time. I'm going to make a beginner's guide of sorts for Smite, so that's for people either looking to improve their game in Smite, or for those that are new to Smite and want to learn the basics. So for those of you that are really experienced in Smite and just looking for a couple technical things, this series isn't for you yet. Heck, we're not even going to be touching Conquest for a couple videos, right? So come back or stick around, but I'm just warning you, this is a beginner's guide. So that being said, let's dive into something that is very important for your success, and that is casting abilities. Now, in Smite, there are 3 different settings for you to cast abilities on, namely normal casting, quick casting, and then instant casting. Each of these have dramatic swings in how your character will play, so we're going to go and we're actually going to cover them. I have a little segment here. So to cast spells, you have keybinds. In my case, my keybinds are 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively for each ability. Now, that aside, everyone has their own key bindings, do what you want. Now, the first type of casting we have is normal casting. Normal casting is basically a queue it up and then fire it. These happen on 2 separate interactions. So you're pressing your keybind to queue up the ability, and then you're pressing the left mouse button to fire it. This is the slowest of the casting interactions, but it is very good for being precise with where you're putting your abilities. Next up, we do have quick casting. So quick casting is, as the name implies, quicker than normal casting. Basically, you're going to press and hold your keybind button. And as you're holding it, you're going to be able to actively move that cursor around to aim your ability, and then when you let go of your keybind, the ability is going to fire. Okay? Now, you can always right click to cancel the ability, right? But basically the premise of quick casting is you are holding down the button, and then when you want to fire that ability, you let go. Finally, we have instant casting, and instant casting, as the name implies, is instantaneous. Basically, you press your keybind and the ability fires. You don't have time to aim or nothing. You have to aim prior to pressing your keybind. And that is why this is a very risky casting option. I don't use this one, it's far too fast, and I need to aim my abilities. So that being said, I always used quick casting. Once I discovered it, I pretty much always and only used that. There was a time when I did instant casting, and man, did I accidentally hit a lot of buttons. So I use quick casting. It lets me both be fast and actually aim, which is pretty important in a game about skill shots. So next we're gonna move into how you aim these abilities, because for those of you that want to do instant casting, you should feel like you can after this tutorial. Now, there's different options for how you aim. I'll show you my setup as well as some different variants on it, but again, I gotta go back into jungle practice, so here we go. Okay, so when you're doing targeting with abilities and then distance auto attacks as well, you do have a couple of things that you can use. As you can see, I'm in quick casting, but you have 3 different options here. You have distance line, ground target, and then the reticle. Now, distance line is very important. It's basically, it shows you the line that's straight in front of you, right? So you can either have the ruler and then the line. The only difference between these two is the ruler shows the unit distance. I use unit distance because I care about and know the actual length of most abilities, and I try and plan accordingly. Now, next we have ground target. Basically, this is a little spot on the ground that represents where you are aiming if you were to do, say, a circle ability, say Neith's second ability. Right? When I use and start activating her second ability, it's going to go and have the center of that ability be where that ground target is. And then reticle is actually where the auto attacks go through. Fun fact, the X reticle actually doesn't go right through the center, so if you want, use the O reticle for accuracy, but then here's what it all looks like together. So as you can see, we have the ruler on the ground with the units. Right? You can see the different unit amounts, and then as we go, if we try some auto attacks, you can see it go right through the center of the circle. And that, of course, is when the projectile is fired. Like, if I'm moving, it's not going to stay in the center of the circle, but again, skill shots. But then let's pay attention to the line. If I start priming Neith's first ability, you can see that it follows the same line, and that is very important because a lot of abilities in Smite are line based, and if you use this line, you can actually have a pretty good idea as to where that ability would end up. Now, we also have the ground targeter. So when I hold down that second ability, you can see that in the middle is where that ground targeter is, and if I let go, it's right where it should be. Another setup you could go is to have a line instead of the ruler, right? It's a little different. You can see there's no units now. Now, fun fact, again, look at where that auto attack goes. It actually goes not in the middle, but between the right side crosshairs. So it's not in the middle, it's slightly off. But anyway, that's just me being picky. And then this is actually a really good one for when you really need to know where those ground abilities go, right? So you can see it has an arrow that further identifies where you are on the ground. So as I go and I'm going up and down and searching around, I know at all times where I'm going to be. So if you need that extra bit of emphasis, the arrow option is very good. But then for me personally, I actually use the ruler and then I use high contrast. I don't use the arrow because I find it gets in the way a little bit, but again, when you're learning, it's not a bad idea to keep it with you. You'll learn the game a little bit. Now, you can also see that I don't have a reticle. That's because I also know that the auto attack will follow right between the measurements on the ruler and the line. So this is the auto attack line, right in between. This is where the reticle is, right? So it's following that same line. So if I need to depend on something for that, I'm going to look at the 70 and find where it's going to be from right there. So there's the basics on how you both set up how you are going to fire your abilities and then how you can tell where those abilities are going to be on your screen. Those are two very important steps to help you aim, because if you can't hit abilities, this game's going to be pretty hard, right? So that is actually, I don't want these videos to be too long on their own, so this is where I'm going to cut this video for today. I'm going to try and do one of these guide videos every Friday. So subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Next time, I think we're going to discuss the different types of classes that we have and then what those classes should be trying to do in-game. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this introductory video and I hope that these tips will help you do a little bit better in-game. As mentioned, that's all the time that I have, so this is Keltick, signing off. Have a casual day, everyone.